Hello everyone, welcome back to Hair by Holly. Today I have a client that I'm doing her hair. We are doing an Olaplex treatment, some layers around her face, and she's getting quite a bit cut off. So I'm first starting with her Olaplex treatment. A lot of people ask me about Olaplex treatments. They are treatments that build back the bonds in the hair strand. So it's not a conditioning treatment that is kind of on the top of the strand of the hair. It starts deep within, it penetrates deep down into the hair shaft, and it works from the inside out. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting the step 1 on, and that is a thinner consistency. You just mix it with water, the product in my little squeezy bottle there. After I get that on, you can immediately put on the step 2, which is a creamy consistency. It feels like a conditioner, but you just put that on the hair and you just run your fingers through it really well, make sure it's good and saturated all throughout the hair. I try to focus on the ends too, because the ends is usually the most damaged part of the hair. So we'll put that in there and I'll keep working it in, and then I will put a shampoo cap over it. Then I will let her process. You don't need heat, so I just let them hang out at the bowl until she's done. She is done processing, and we are going to rinse that out. I'm trying to make sure that the water is nice and comfortable. You don't want it too hot, especially with a conditioning treatment. You're just going to be putting more damage on the hair, so I try to make it lukewarm. A little tip: if you do end your shampoo conditioner regimen with cooler water, it will seal the ends of your hair, it will seal the cuticle together, and it will give you a little bit more shine. We had a consultation about making sure that she's, giving her hair some breaks in between, like straightening it every day and curling it every day. So I am getting ready to shampoo and condition the hair. You want to make sure that you get all of that Olaplex out, because if you don't get it all out and you leave it in there, it's going to look like you've got some buildup on the hair. A little bit of a backstory with her hair. It's a beautiful red color. She's not had any artificial color put on her hair. It's all natural, but she has had a little bit of damage because she uses a lot of heat. She really needed a good cut. It's probably been, I'd say, about 6 months before she'd had her hair cut. Also, we really talked about making sure that she's getting it trimmed every 6 to 8 weeks. It's really important that you get your hair cut every 6 to 8 weeks, because if you don't, the hair is just going to keep splitting and breaking. And if your goal is to kind of grow it out long, then it's really going to not grow. And I don't mean grow from the head, but it's not going to gain length, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You cut that damaged hair off and it will continue to grow. I'm finishing up her treatment, just rinsing everything out, and you will see me grab a paper towel to dry her hair. I do not use regular towels because I feel like it's a little bit more sanitary. I just throw that paper towel away and I don't have to worry about it. I can just go on to the next thing. So we've got all the Olaplex out, and the shampoo and the conditioner. Her hair is nice and clean. We've got a good canvas to work with. We talked about doing some angled layers, just some really defined layers all over. She wanted something really different and dramatic that she'd never had before. So I'm not doing a regular 5-section haircut part. I'm just parting her hair in the middle and keeping those sides combed down from her ear forward, because those are the pieces that she really wanted, like a really angled look around her face. So I keep those out so that way I will remember to cut those differently than I do the rest of the haircut. She wants to do kind of a curtainy bang, but not really short, so it's more of a curtain layer. So I will actually show how to do that in a minute. I'm starting with my first guide, and this is going to be just my stationary guide with a 0 degree elevation. And it's really important when you're cutting that first cut that you start in the middle of the hair. If you start on the left and you try to cut, it's more than likely not going to be straight. So if you start in the middle and then you work your way to the left and then you go back and you work your way to the right, you don't have as much, it's not as hard to get as straight of a line. It's a little bit easier to work from each side towards the middle. I also needed to point out that I always tilt my client's head down, so that will give me a better, straighter line from when they put their head up. Then some pieces from the bottom will kind of slide out. So I'm doing what is a 180 degree cut, and I'm using a stationary guide. A stationary guide stays stationary, and a traveling guide travels up the head. So a 180 degree cut is everything pulled to the main top of the head with your stationary guide on top. After I get that stationary guide pulled all the way up to the top, I am going to check my layers and kind of connect them with the bottom layer. As I pull them down, I just slide my fingers and make sure it comes at a little bit of a diagonal from the top piece to the bottom piece, so there's no large gaps of hair that aren't cut, that aren't blended into the bottom. So now we're getting to the really important part of the haircut, where she really wants some defined layers around her face. So I'm just pulling my fingers and trying to cut like with diagonal layers, so that way it's nice and angled around her face. So now I'm just taking a wide tooth comb and I'm lifting the hair from the head, so that way when I dry it, it will dry the root part of her hair, so that way it'll give her some volume and kind of get the part that's closest to her hair dry, because that can be really stubborn to take its time. So I'm lifting it up and letting the blow dryer kind of get in there and dry it. So this is where I'm going to be cutting her curtain bangs, or curtain layer, I guess you would say, because they're not really short enough for bangs. But I'm combing the section in the front in her fringe area, and I'm flipping it over, and I'm taking my thinning shears and cutting the hair. That makes a really nice and blended look, and not a very blunt cut. It makes it look really soft. And I'm taking it again, I took another section, and I'm cutting the bangs or the layers from the top of the head where it starts to fall down into her face, where her head starts to curve down. We went ahead and scheduled her another appointment to get her hair cut, and we will do another treatment when she comes back in. She'll probably see a little bit more results from the Olaplex treatment then, because it really takes a couple times to actually see the progress, because it's working from the inside out. So now I'm using a curling drying brush to give her a little bit of volume in the back.
because I really didn't want to put any teas in there. She really doesn't like a lot of teas, so I'm just using something to give her a little bit of volume. So after that, I'm just taking the straightener, doing just a little bit of putting a little bend at the bottom just to help define those layers a little bit better, so you can see them in the haircut. It gives her a lot of volume, gives her a nice little bend there without curling it or really just a real straight look. It gives her like a little bit more movement in the hair. Of course, I always use a heat protectant before I start using any kind of heating product, especially a straightener or a curling iron or even a heating brush or a drying brush. And if you're using a blow dryer, you want to probably use a blow dry spray. It can help with blow drying the hair, make it a little bit faster. I don't always use a blow dry spray, but I do sometimes, especially if someone has really thick hair. And if you don't mind, just overlook all of the mess that I have over there on my station. Days at the shop get very hectic. After I sanitize my utensils, I kind of just leave all my stuff over there, my foils and all my products. So it will get cleaned up just probably at the end of the day. When I'm straightening the pieces that are closer to her face, the more of the angled look that she wants around her face, I am actually straightening those back. I'm over directing a little bit. You think that it's a little counterintuitive, but really when you are pulling them back, they actually frame the face really nicely when you curve them back towards the front. It gives a really nice little angled look around the face. And then I'll just kind of pull them around and do them around her face. See how I'm pulling back here, over directing, and then pulling some of those pieces down around her face and kind of using a little bit of a bend in there in my straightener. This is a really layered cut. It's not exactly a shag, as they would say a long time ago, but it is kind of a nice layered cut with kind of feathered layers. It can give you a lot of volume in the back, especially with the shorter pieces, the shorter layers on top. But this is her finished look. It's her finished layers. It really transformed her hair and gave her something pretty different than she's used to. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if this was helpful for you, and let me know in the comments if there's any videos you would like for me to do or any questions you have, and don't forget to subscribe. Check you later.